for a brand new season here, season 13, and it's time to say welcome to the World GT Championship. My name is Paul Smith. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Peter Mackay. 13 seasons this championship now is on. It just keeps on getting bigger and better to this series. We've got, right now in qualification, 54 cars currently in qualifying. You won't miss a thing of the race. But Peter, as I say, keeps on getting bigger and better.
It does, yeah. Huge props to all the folks at World Sim Racing. The digital paddock there continues to grow with here in the World GT Championship. We're now into the third season of the World Touring Car Series as well, and lots of exciting things for the future too. So what a pleasure to be involved. We've got some of the best virtual racers there is out there, and I can't wait to see them go racing once again with a very new look world of GT3 racing since we last spoke.
Yeah, absolutely. If you are new to the series, we will explain as we go along through this the different types of races that happen here in the World GT Championship. But let's just first of all take a look at the schedule for this season and look at some of the interesting events that we're going to have. Watkins Glen is our opening round for an endurance race. That's an hour and 45 minutes with 2 mandated pit stops. Then we head to Interlagos for 2 40-minute feature races with a mandated pit stop in each of those. Red Bull Ring, it's 3 sprint races around the track out there in Austria. We have a week off then, so that's another thing that you see. You get weeks off in this series. Bathurst then for an endurance race. I mean, my goodness, if these drivers won't get enough practice for the Bathurst 12 hours, I don't know what will. Circuit Zolder then makes a return to this series after a number of seasons out in the wilderness. Then Twin Ring Motegi for another sprint round, and then that's the halfway point of the season. Second half of the season, Sebring is another one of our endurance races with Monza then following that. Oschersleben, I think Peter Mackay will be breaking out his best John Cleland impression for that track, as for giving us some 3 sprint races there. And then we'll finish off the season, Daytona. We've just seen the Daytona 24 Hours this weekend on RaceSpotTV. Circuit Manicourt, welcome to the world of World GT Championship for that track. And then Hockenheim finishes off our run here in the series. Some notable tracks there. I think Zolder and Oschersleben could be some real wildcard moments out there for us, Peter.
They certainly are, yes, indeed. I think feature races at Zolder, that could be very enticing indeed. And then 3 sprints to finish at Hockenheim. We saw it last season finishing at the Nürburgring. There's some real pinch points at both of those circuits, and yeah, 3 sprint races finishing off the championship. And if the championship goes to the wire like it has in the last few seasons, wow, that is going to be one not to miss as well. I mean, Hockenheim might not be a circuit that you think, oh, it's like a Le Mans or a Nürburgring or whatever, but for racing, it's a very raceable track as well, especially with that very tight hairpin where you can be as ambitious as you dare on the brakes.
We're currently looking at the last seconds of qualifying here for you. Ross McFarlane, then the pro champion just on screen, has moved over to the Ferrari for this season, but I can tell you he is not in pole position at the moment. We have got some new drivers in the series. Aaron Vasquez from the Altus Esports team, he's currently in pole position. There you see him in his Audi with Fabio I'm going to struggle with this straight away. Unverdrus in second place at the moment in qualifying. James Armstrong, the 3rd place in qualifying at the moment for him, for the Brabham Esports outfit. Keep an eye on them because they could be some real dark horses for the championship. But for newcomers to the series, you'll be seeing those numbers in the left-hand side of your screen. Green colours, orange colours, blue colours. What exactly does that mean, Peter?
That is based on the class of the driver. All of the cars are identical specs. So if you're in an Audi, it's the same no matter what class you're in. But that is to determine what class of driver you're in. The green is for Pro, the orange for Pro-Am, and blue is for am, and that is based upon the driver's iRacing or a little bit of consideration of their performances in previous seasons as well. Mid-season adjustments are possible, so there's people who need a leg up, they can maybe be put down a class, or vice versa. If they're dominating their class, they can be moved up, but they do keep the championship points that they've scored.
Yeah, absolutely, and of course the points that you score, so the position that you finish in, those are the points that you take. It's not individual championship points for individual classes. So yeah, first endurance round of the season already. We've got some drivers that are giving us an insight to us as well. There's the driver wall, a magnificent beard top left from Brabham Esports, I must say. That is sensational. I'm very envious. That's for sure.
The fish tank.
Yep, the fish tank is back from the middle camera. Adam Watson, I think, has gone off for a quick comfort break in the top, and Josh Thompson, of course, with his laid-back approach to racing in the bottom right-hand corner. Of course, racing from the Isle of Man is Josh. But we are getting ourselves set. We've got a full pace lap here, so we can go through your starting grid. Then it is newcomer Aaron Vasquez then for Altus Esports, who takes pole position here. Alongside him is Fabio Unverdrus for the German sim racing team. James Armstrong and Josh Thompson, a stalwart of the season is Josh. He's in set row number 2 with Hunter McDaniel for Brabham Esports, new to the series. Alongside him is Tristan Iglesias. Then Leandro Anderuti back into the championship after a couple of seasons out. He's on row number 4. Alongside him is Massimo Locatello. Then Ross McFarlane, champion for the last 4 seasons in a row. He's starting in 9th. Alongside him is Christoph Karekas, Marvin Lesmorman, and then the top Pro-Am driver of Kevin Bellens, rounding out the next row of the grid. Alex Davidson, Harold Stadler, then Brabham with multiple teams now. So they've got another team there, 14th for them, with James Buemi and Justin Klassen's next row, with Lucas Prada and Adam Watson on row number 9. Row 10 is Jack Sedgwick and Matt Emery, with Jack Osborne and Adam Tompkins then on row number 11. No, row number 12, worth pointing out, Jack Osborne, top am in qualifying. Row number 12, who I didn't quite catch. So we'll move on to row number 13, Tim Perry and Pete Harrod, with Daniel Sedgley and David Valls. Aaron Rose and Sophia Ridpath round out the next row of the grid. Shane Burke and Ben Palmer. I used to be a teammate with Ben Palmer back a number of years ago. He's there in 32nd with Ethan Critchley and Andy Archer. Jensen Adrianson's back once again with Jonathan Walker alongside him. Daniel Nault with Dara Adrianson's as well. And 20th row of the grid is Ashley Finch and Lee Berridge, with Cody Crosgrove and Paul Crawford on the next row of the grid. Adam Hedgecock with Brian Sohn, Ben Gregory and Paddy Faulkner, with your own Kaiser back again with Sarah Raab. Good to see Sarah back into the championship. Lars Van Rijn and Mark Woodhouse, with Team Mad teammate on the next row, Majek Sakovic, Ryan Martin, Jordan Johnson and Richard Simner. It's a big old grid here, Peter. And, well, these drivers, they've got a full pace lap here, but we are, I must say, we are on the classic boot layout, which means we miss out the bus stop chicane. You can see the conditions up on screen. Mostly cloudy sky, 31 degrees track temperature. The air temperature is 24 degrees in the sky. So, nice early morning start, 10:30. For them in sim, so it'll only get hotter, Peter, as we go along through this race. But this big blast from the S's all the way down to the carousel, great slipstreaming opportunity.
A fantastic slipstreaming opportunity. You're absolutely right, Paul. There's opportunity, but there is also huge threats on that opening sector of the opening lap, because the iRacing tyre model has changed a lot since the last World GT Championship season. The tyre needs more time to get up to its optimum working temperature and pressure, and just simply does not give the grip than it used to on the opening lap. Yes, we have a fuel pace lap here at Watkins Glen, but as you can see, we're at a very pedestrian pace behind the pace car. Therefore, you can't really generate the temperature that you need. So especially going through those really fast S-bends at the start of the Watkins Glen lap, a real helter-skelter style of driving through there, and it's very, very busy with over 50 cars. That is going to be the pinch point, and with an hour and 45-minute endurance race, you know, there's no race 2 to come back. It's this one race, and if it goes wrong, that's it.
Aaron Vasquez will be on pole position, will set the pace once the pace car pulls off onto pit road. If there is a track blockage, there will be a safety car called, but don't expect to see any safety cars planned. There's Barney, the flag man, waiting patiently to give the drivers the green flag. It's worth pointing out the top 6, it's 5 Audis and 1 Lamborghini of the top 6, and you've got a Porsche, Lamborghini, Ferrari and Audi rounding off your top 10. So getting ourselves ready then, the penultimate corner coming up, and well, Vasquez, new to the championship, not new to GT3 racing though, very experienced driver, and he'll be getting himself set for taking these drivers to the green flag. It's a pleasure to have you all here for us today, the start of the 13th season of the World GT Championship. Thank you to the partners as well, Simatech, and also to 3M. Green flag will be waved, and we are underway for an hour and 45 minutes of racing here at Watkins Glen.
Off they go then as well. Green flag in the air for a new season. Down towards turn 1 they go, shuffling for position as the Logitech Altus Esports Audi of Aaron Vasquez gets through clean for now. Lots of Audis up there at the front.
Yeah, and it's a case of now, can we get through the S's nice and clean? That's always the big pinch point. And we've got smoke in the background. Big incident at the back of the field. Will everybody get through there? I think it's pretty much a track blockage across there. Major incident further back. Absolute nightmare for the drivers as they go through. I think we've had more incident down at the carousel as well, because I can see on my track map yellow flags out at the carousel as well. Got drivers dropping down the field. Oh my goodness, that car's not going in a straight line in last moment. Very little he could do about that. Wipes out the Altitude Esports car, and amazingly, no yellow flag, Peter.
No safety car, quite remarkable. The road was completely blocked there as well. Normally we would see a safety car in that instance, but not on this occasion. But we see a Logitech Altus Esports car at the front of the field. Remember a couple of seasons ago, Luke McEwen came into this championship and really showed his pace as a Logitech Altus Esports driver and was signed up for Team Redline at that time. A lot of water has gone under the bridge since then, but Vasquez representing the Logitech-backed team there as well. I'll tell you what, if you've got a mid-engined Audi-derived V10 in your car, you're pretty pleased right now. The Audi R8 leads from the Lamborghini Huracan of Fabio Underwood. Oh no, Unverdrus. Got me out as well, Paul.
It's not easy, is it? But as we go through the S's for the start of the second lap then, so it is Vasquez, Unverdrus with Thompson in third place, James Armstrong fourth place with Anderuti up 2 places in fifth place, Hunter McDaniel down 1 place to sixth, and then it is Massimo Locatello in 7th place ahead of Kevin Billens, Lucas Prada and Alex Davidson rounding out the top 10. We have got a huge number of cars already on pit road. We've got 4 on pit road who have taken the tour back to pit lane, and then already 6 cars driving or dragging their cars to pit road to try and get some repairs. Fortunately, in this series, for anybody who's new to this championship, you do get 1 free repair in a race here in the championship, so it encourages people to carry on, and that can be important for championships, can't it, Peter?
It can, it certainly can indeed, and we've got a long championship ahead of us here. Great move by Josh Thompson to get up into second place, got a move done on Fabio Unverdrus at the outer loop, went around the outside at the outer loop, and that gave him the inside for the shoot as well, coming into the boot section. So great move there from Josh Thompson in the red and black Team Redline Audi R8. So it's an Audi 1-2 at the front here at Watkins Glen. The first of the Porsches. Anderuti. Great to have Anderuti back. We saw him in the early stages of the season a couple of seasons ago. Great to have him back. I wonder if he's got that rather snazzy bucket hat on in his rig gear, I wonder.
You never know. Yeah, it did. Also was quite the exuberant driver, wasn't he, as well? So it'd be good to see how he gets on in that Porsche. Ross McFarlane's onto pit road, so he must have got caught up in some of the shenanigans on lap 1, tried to carry on, but he's onto pit road, so the champion, here we go, here's a replay, Peter, and it's Jack Sedgwick getting into the back of somebody and then just chaos. Yeah,
it only takes one tiny honest mistake. It doesn't even require careless driving. It's so narrow through there. It reminds me a lot of the Macau Grand Prix circuit. You don't think of Watkins Glen as a street track, but the walls are so close at many places of the circuit, it might as well be. Specifically there at that S section, there is no runoff at all. It's really narrow and it's super fast. You're up into just ticking top gear where that accident is happening there as well. And yeah, all arms and elbows, cars everywhere. That happened in the real world Watkins Glen at 6 hours about 3 or 4 years ago. One of the factory Corvettes completely destroyed in a very similar accident. So you can't really put blame on any driver there. It just takes one person to have a cold tire wiggle and then bang.
I remember the Porsche race as well at Watkins Glen a few years ago, had exactly the same and had a complete track blockage there. Be interested to see what happened to Tristan Iglesias, by the way, as well, because I think he had a separate incident down at the carousel, and I think that's what might have got Ross McFarlane caught up and got him some damage. But we are staying green flag racing, so there are some drivers who are very happy about that. People like, oh, here we go. So Iglesias is, well, just the back end goes, doesn't it? Yeah, Ross is involved in that. We saw Marvin Lesmulman was involved in that as well, and it was Les Moorman who was trying to then get going again and ended up wiping out an old Altitude Esports car. But yeah, there's people like Paul Crawford up 22 places, Sarah Raab 23, Matt Woodhouse 24, Richard Simner up 26 places. Those are people who have really benefited out of this.
Well, Richard Simner called it in our RaceSpotTV YouTube chat. He says, last the first challenge, here we go. Well, he's certainly going the right way about it at the moment. It just shows you that here at Watkins Glen, I think of any race in the season, including the street tracks, this is where qualifying is so important, because you just do not want to be in that mid-pack, because the chance of one of those big ones, that Talladega-style big crash at the S's, it's so common. And again, with the tyre model the way it is, see, there you go, just so easy to lose it. The tyres, they really need the temperature to be able to work at their best, and then on that first lap they are not at their best. But tell you what, how things change in GT3 racing with the way that the balance of the performance works out. The Audi in seasons gone by was nowhere, or had the reputation as being a real widowmaker. Now, not the case. It's running so well at the front of the field.
Well, as things sort of calm down into a bit of a rhythm, we've got a 7-car train then at the front of the field. I wouldn't write off Lucas Prada bringing the queue of cars that's behind him as well onto the back of this lead group. Really, in these races, we have seen that strategy is key. I mean, how many times have we called it where someone like Ross McFarlane isn't really... he's in that top 10, and then strategy comes to play, and all of a sudden he's miles ahead of everybody after the final pit stop.
Yeah, we have seen that in the past. Talking of pit stop, we've had 16 drivers have made a pit stop already. They've all come in to take their fast repair. That's one thing the drivers do have in their armoury, is a fast repair. If they do have a big incident, it's not their night over altogether. So riding with James Armstrong here, that showed some great pace in the Daytona 24 hours in the second split in an Audi, so he's got loads of track time in this car recently. And at Watkins Glen, it's actually a really interesting setup compromise, because you have some quite high-speed corners where you want downforce, but then you have, especially in this layout, quite a lot of long straights where you don't want that drag. So I don't think the setup will be wildly different from Ace Daytona. A little bit more downforce, a little bit more wing, but not a huge amount. So the point is, I think James Armstrong's got to be in a really comfortable position in that grab amount.
And he's developed so much, hasn't he, over the last, just even the last half a year, we've seen him really come on. I mean, he got his first race win last season in the World GT Championship, so in his first season of the series. So he's somebody who knows what it takes to win a race, and he's right there in that top four. If I'm in this lead group, I'm not really worried about trying to make moves forward right now. I'm just sitting in that traffic, getting some fuel saving done. Your top Pro-Am, by the way, was on the screen, Kevin Bellens, as we have got one car pulling out, and that is going to be Unvadrus down the inside of Josh Thompson. Just, yeah, whatever, I'll let you do that. In these early stages, I mean, we've not even hit 10 minutes of this race. It's all about just getting yourself into a good place and getting yourself into a rhythm and that massive fuel saving that you want to do.
Yeah, we'll see a lot of that in this leading bunch at the moment. Aaron Vasquez is the domestique for cycling fans out there. He's doing all the heavy lifting. He's the diesel locomotive at the moment. No draft for him, so he's basically using as much fuel as he would on his own, whereas all the drivers behind him, they're able to lift and coast into each and every corner, really minimise that fuel usage. It's all about your throttle input here on iRacing, so the longer that you can spend off the throttle, the better. And of course with 2 pit stops as well. I love this format, Paul, because with 2 pit stops there is lots of different strategy permutations of when you take that pit stop and how it works out.
We have had a very good question, by the way, in the YouTube chat. Hello, everybody in the YouTube chat, by the way. Rob Brown asks, why don't they do split starts for each class of Pro-Am? The answer to that, Rob, is that because the drivers are just set qualifying and it's based on their time, you've got drivers of Pro-Am mixed in with Pro and Am drivers mixed in with Pro-Am and vice versa. It would be impossible to set that grid at the start of a race, so that's why everybody does start all together. But do get any questions in if you are new to the series and watching this for the first time. Do say hello in the chat. We'll keep an eye on that whilst we're going on.
That's exactly how they do it in IMSA as well, with GTD Pro and GTD, where the cars are the same as this GT3 spec of car, but if you get on overall pole, which is actually exactly what happened for the Rolex 24 Hour at Daytona, a GTD car got on pole ahead of all of the GTD Pro cars, and they will start at the front of all the GT fields. So yeah, that's what I like about this championship, is the Free-Am Ferrari of Johnny Walker going slow there. So a problem for that machine. Oh, it looks good. I mean, that livery looks good on anything, on a toaster, but looks great on a Ferrari. Very nice. But yeah, that's the thing is, Paul, I love about this championship is we get some great hero results where we get AMs and Pro-Ams getting on the overall podium in a lot of races. It's brilliant.
Yeah, here we go. Here's what happened to Jonathan Walker. Just the tiniest of contact. Well held.
No,
it was one of the altitude cars. But well held, I must say, by Jonathan to keep that out the wall, because it's that wall just, if you so much as lose the back end on a car like this around that part of the track, it just sucks you in, and before you know it, you've ended up leaving carbon fibre trailing behind you.
Yes, yeah, you absolutely are. You absolutely are. Look at the length of the train at the front of the field here. I think that gives an impression of just how much fuel saving is going on here as well, because you have a lot of drivers that weren't able to match our pole position sitter in qualifying. They are now in the race. That is simply just because the Vasquez, he'll be trying to do what he can to not lose too much difference in fuel to those behind him, who are all sitting there and lifting off the throttle as early as they can, coasting down. Some drivers like to dip the clutch as well and rattle down the gears and then pull the clutch out as they go into the corner. It can go wrong though. Just ask George Simmons. He blew his engine at the Nürburgring 24. He's probably forgotten about that by now. So yeah,
I'm sure he'll thank us for reminding him about that. And I can tell you now that his teammates they do like to remind him about that as well. I know that for a fact. But it's the point that I made, though, wasn't it? We had a 7-car train, but I said that Lucas Prada, I wouldn't be surprised if he drags his little train of cars onto the back of it. Now it's an 11-car train. And I'm looking back, we've got Christoph Krekas in 12th place ahead of Harold Stadler, who is back there. I mean, those guys could be coming onto the back of this train. We could be seeing, a good 13, 15-car train by the time we reach the first pit stops here.
This is a bit like watching a Moto3 motorcycle race, or an old 125 Grand Prix race as well, where you get 15, 20 riders all bunched together in one big peloton style. So this is 500 horsepower peloton we've got here. Fantastic.
Yeah, so, there's been some moves, and Prada once again making moves forward. This time on McDaniel down the inside, so Lucas Prada isn't hanging around here for Pure Sims. Not seen him in the series, but Pure Sims usually well represented in this championship as they move forward. Now, I don't know if we're going to get the opportunity to look back at lap 1 once again, because I said about Paul Crawford moving through the field. He really has done a tremendous job. As I say, 22 places. Here's his onboard, Peter. And, well, I mean, this is talk about picking the right lane.
Oh, my word. Oh.
Just pick your way through the field. Thank you very much.
I think he's been watching Days of Thunder 3 times a week since he was in short trousers, I think. There's more smoke there than a Dr. Dre video, and he just managed to pick his way through.
Here we go. Look at that from above.
It's a pea super.
It's like a 1980s music video with the amount of smoke there. It really is. Bit of dry ice, But anyway, we'll carry on. And, speaking of Paul Crawford, he does appear to be dropping down my timing screen. So hopefully nothing's too bad has happened to him. Hopefully he's not had anything like a connection problem or something like that, because Paul was looking on for a good spot. Armstrong is moving forward. He's trying to get places. It's the Audi. Oh, it's the Audi. Back end around, hold your brakes, and he's got to wait. Get out of the way. Yeah, that's nicely done there.
Yeah, that's a shame. That is such a shame there. But yeah, just a little bit of a lazy spin. It can happen. That mid-end is a shorter wheelbase, big heavy V10 engine in the middle, and yeah, it can be a little bit twitchy. Big shout out to 14th position, car number 91, Jack Osborne. This is why it's good to mix up all the classes, to allow everyone to fight on equal merit. Jack Osborne for Century Sims Sim Esports is up there in 14th overall, and remind me, it's Warrington, the Century Sim.
Warrington, yeah.
Warrington, yes. So the Warrington fan club at the Century Sim Sports base will be very happy with this run so far from Jack Osborne. To be up in the top 15 in a 55 car grid, very impressive.
Yeah, doing a tremendous job once again. He always seems to pull out a result or pull out a performance, does Jack, during the season. But it shows the level of competition in this championship again. I mean, I mentioned at the start of this broadcast how this series just keeps on getting bigger and better. The level of competition that we've got here now is absolutely incredible. The average strength of field in iRacing, so for people who are new to iRacing, that is basically an iRating is something that you accumulate through good results in official races that iRacing hosts throughout the day. and the higher your I rating, allegedly, the better the driver you are. Some would debate that. The average right across the field here of 54 cars is 4,152. You've got to bear in mind that myself, I'm on a 2,800 I rating, so I'd be an am in this.
Me too. I have 2,100 for me. I'm a mere minnow compared to you, Paul.
And I'm nothing compared to your leader who's on 88.65. Harold Stadler, there is that magnificent beard once again. Currently in 13th place, giving us a tremendous shot of him driving along. And I'll tell you what, that looked a very comfortable rig to be sat in. Very, very padded head area. That does actually look like it's come out of a race car, does that seat, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's very nice as well. I think, is that a fan as well that he's got there to keep him nice and cool, keep the wind in the beard as well? That's fantastic. That beard, we've got to ask him what product he uses, because that doesn't happen by accident, a beard at that level. That's full factory, that beard.
You know, I just trimmed my beard this weekend. Hugo last weekend got to see me in full winter mode with my beard, but I'm now trimmed down again because I want it to look fairly respectable for a broadcast. Not entirely, but fairly. Prada is up into 5th place now, so moving forward in that Mercedes. He's one of the few Mercedes out there. There's very few of them on the grid here in this series this season. I remember when that was the favoured car, Peter, just a few seasons ago, and how times change, as he mentioned, with the iRacing Bolts performance.
Well, it won the championship last year. Ross McFarlane was in a Mercedes. So, yeah, it just floats back and forward. The last few races of last season, the Porsche was the car to have. I mean, remember Josh Thompson, was it Spa, where he just waltzed away at the front. I made everyone look pretty ordinary. So Jack Sedgwick referred to it as the LMP2 car for the towards the end of the season. So it does come and go. It gives and takes. Everyone gets their turn in the sun, and I think that's where what I really love about Virtual Motorsport is the level of preparation you put in is really, really, really important. You just cannot blag it. If you want to be good and at the front of the field, you can't do it. And the level of preparation, one of the most important things for the World GT Championship is making sure you pick the right car at the start, because, as you say, you make your bed and lie in it. If you pick the wrong car, you're stuck with it. Or if you want to change, you have to take a big penalty.
You know, I saw on Twitter earlier today a conversation that was continuing from Tony Kanaan asking the question about sim racing after Daytona 24, which was here on RaceSpotTV this weekend, which Peter, of course, commentated on not just one split, but on 2 splits here today. So good effort from Peter and everybody who was on broadcast duty this weekend. But there was a conversation of how sim racing can get stuck copying race formats of real world racing. And I think actually that's where something like the World GT Championship has been a bit ahead of the game, because they have the endurance races here, we're an hour and 45 minutes. You've then got events which are 2 40-minute races. And then, of course, you've got the sprint events, which is 3 20-minute races. I mean, where else in the world does a series have that type of format with such different lengths of races?
I think you definitely get the most complete driver, because the other thing that you throw into that, I mean, we do get, in the various forms of SRO championships, there's different time lengths. IMSA have a reasonably good mix of 24-hour, 12-hour, 6-hour, 2 hours 40, 100-minute sprint, etc. But they don't have multiple races on a weekend, whereas we do here at World GT, and every meeting that's not an endurance race will have multiple. And of course we have our spinny wheel reverse grid, which is where you really get that, like you say, you would not see that really very much in the real world at all. And for me, it shows who the most complete driver is. Qualifying on pole and pulling away at the front is one skill. Getting through a reverse grid field, quite another.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, where I could think of for reverse grid draws, for example, the British Touring Car Championship, and even then it's only limited to 6 positions that they can change, whereas this, it's a real wide range of positions that can be changed. So you could win race 1, and before you know it, if you hit's unlucky for you, you're starting right at the back of the field because it's done a full reverse grid draw. That is one of the real benefits of sim racing, is you can have these different formats of racing. As we're on board with Kevin Bellens right now, who's actually on the back of this queue at the front of the field, and James Burmey behind has actually got a bit of company behind him. So this queue of traffic is just getting longer and longer at the front.
It is. It really is, yeah. And they're all coexisting quite well just now, but they're very tightly packed in together in that train. I think they're trying to copy what Apex Racing did at the weekend at the Daytona 24-hour, where the 2 cars were practically glued together for the whole 24-hour race. It was quite a remarkable strategy, which they managed to pull off, more or less. Yeah, quite remarkable. I think as well, actually, though, I'm a really big fan of the fact that here in the virtual motorsport world, especially here in iRacing, where you can take part in a Daytona 24-hour with your friends. You can take part in a Sebring 12-hour, a Bathurst 12-hour, a Indy 500. Oh no, we can't do it. Sorry, excuse me. Bathurst 1000. Sorry, that's a habit. But you get the point. You mentioned top level racing. Most of the time, there's a virtual replica, if you like, that you can take part in, and that's really good.
We have got a change at the front. You can see it on screen right now. Josh Thompson moves to the front of that pack ahead of Aaron Vasquez. Lucas Prada has been working his way forward into 3rd place now, with James Armstrong 4th in his Brabham Esports car. Fabio Unverdrus behind him, and then Hunter McDaniel in the other Brabham Esports car. So Brabham well represented here in the top 6. There's Hunter McDaniel's on board right now as we go through the heel of the boot. Head on through this. This is a nasty corner. You're always pushing wide on corner exit. You've got to be really careful with your application of the throttle out of that, and then back on through the penultimate corner. Slightly cambered in your favour there, and then onto the brakes. Right-hander again, slightly cambered in your favour through that final corner. Carry the speed, get as close as you dare to the outside, and we've got a car onto pit road from that queue of traffic. Didn't see who it was though, but we carry on at the front. So we are heading towards a pit stop window now, but I would fully expect, Peter, these at the front will be trying to go as long as possible.
I think it might have been a car that was pulling over to the side of the road who's a lap down, Paul. I could be wrong, but I think they were actually on. Right. I think they were on the left-hand side of the pit wall from driver's eye view. So there's a change for the lead. Change for the lead. So Pure Sims Mercedes to the front. Lucas Prada. Well. So Vasquez, he's had enough of being the diesel locomotive, and one of the Lamborghinis making a move there as well. That's Fabio Unverdrus for German Sim Racing, trying to make a move on one of the Brabham guys. That's James Armstrong. Has to give best again. Who's been the most economical here? It is really that kind of motor race. You've got to be careful coming into the pit lane here at Watkins Glen. It's so tight. I think it's one of the most difficult pit lanes of any circuit on the iRacing platform, Paul. It's very easy to get, well, nerfed when you go in, or hit the pit wall when you go in.
Oh, I'm trying to think now of any that are just as bad for getting onto pit road. But you are right, because you're coming into pit lane right on that racing line through the apex of that final corner. Yeah, it is a very tricky corner to get right for the pit lane. Top 12 all together down that start and finish straight. Fabio Unverdrus. See, we're getting used to it now, Peter. It's becoming more natural. It's getting the teeth wrapped around it. We've got to get a bit of Fixodent in there, I think. But yeah, Fabio doing a good job sitting in that slipstream for the German sim racing outfit. Great to see them back again as well. 2 new drivers in Underdruss and Locatello, and Adam Tompkins as well, another one from that outfit getting involved in the series. So German sim racing, they sort of dipped their toes into the series, didn't they, a couple of seasons ago, and they've really sort of stuck with it and are trying to get something out of it now.
They have, and they are fighting up at the front. It's a shame we haven't got the VRS satellite racing team back again. They had some great runs last season as well. I remember Alex Gall's incredible. It was at this very circuit. No, excuse me, it was at Catalonia, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was at Catalonia.
Enduro in the Porsche had no pace, but balance with the way the balance of performance was, but had great fuel economy, and really spotted that was the only attribute to really make use of, and got on the podium. It was great to watch how the differing strategies worked out. But Lucas Prada has the fastest lap of the race, 141.897, which, get this, 0.6 of a second quicker than Vasquez, but that's because Vasquez hasn't had the benefit of a tow up until now. This lap by Vasquez could be much more representative.
Certainly could, as we go across the line once again. So the top 3 in Pro, it's those at the front: Lucas Prada with Aaron Vasquez, and then Josh Thompson rounding out the top 3 there. Pure Sims, you've got Altus Esports, and of course you've got Team Redline involved in that one. Your top Pro-Am, that is James Buemi in 10th place ahead of Kevin Bellens in 11th, with Daniel Sedgley up 14 places now, up into 13th. So a real hard charging run for Daniel in Pro-Am there. You can see the Pro-Am standings as they are at the moment. In Am, well, it's still Jack Osborne, 15th place for him at the moment. For him, that's first place in class. 17th overall, Andy Archer, it's worth mentioning as well. Andy's having a good run here in the early going for the Am. And Jensen Adrianson's in the Lamborghini, 3rd place in class, 21st overall. He is doing a good job as well. So we're seeing some good performances out there. Richard Simner is now up 31 places, so he's doing his best to try and get that last to first challenge. But Ryan Martin is doing a good job as well. 32 places gained in this race.
32 places, that's quite remarkable. Quite remarkable indeed. I don't think it'll be too long before we maybe get some drivers taking a punt at some pit stops. Of course, 2 pit stops to make. You can kind of split it. You've always really got to have a kind of longer stint and a shorter stint. It's just whether you go for your short stint first and long stint second, or the reverse of that as well. The only caveat to though, Paul, is that you don't want to be, if you're in that leading bunch, you don't want to be disconnected from that bunch and then get left out, in kind of no man's land. So it's interesting, but then for all these cars to go into pit lane in tandem without hitting each other is going to be quite a challenge. It must be said.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how that all pans out for the drivers. We saw this graphic at the start of the race as they're on their pace lap. It was 31 degrees Celsius was the track temperature. Look at that now. We're an hour and 13 minutes from the end of this race, and already it's up to 38 degrees Celsius. That is going to continue rising, is that temperature. You're going to be seeing that into the 40s, I think, here in this one. And that could affect tyre performance. Could we see, Peter, somebody saying, I'm taking a full set of tyres? Could we see people say maybe just air tyre? Because, of course, things have changed in iRacing. Tyres are taken with the fuel.
Oh, it's a huge change. I think the biggest change in GT3 racing we've had in many years on the iRacing platform, probably since it's really been introduced as a category. And the fact that in the past you would put the fuel in and then any tyres you put on, it was an investment in time, and often on a race of this length, quite frankly, you just didn't get that investment back. So that's where Ross McFarlane has been the wizard of the endurance races, because he was able to keep the tyres in better condition than anybody else. and had pulled a lot of surprises on his rivals. I remember at Watkins Glen 2 seasons ago, it was really the turning point of the championship where he didn't have the pace to win, and then all of a sudden was able to double stint tyres when nobody else was able to. That's changed completely. However, it doesn't mean that we don't have tyre strategy anymore. Far from it, because the drivers aren't going to have a big enough pit stop. They're not going to be putting fuel in the car long enough to put 4 tyres on at every stop. So they have to then balance how much fuel they put in, how many tyres they can put on during that time, and when they deploy that. Brilliant move by iRacing, I think, and I think it makes the racing really interesting.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be. I mean, I can see the flip side of it as well, about how by having the tyres done at the same time, you are taking a little bit of strategy play away, to be fair, as well. So it's how you can balance that out throughout a race. And
if you're putting a full fuel tank in, you're absolutely right, because you can put the tyres, 4 tyres on before the fuel is finished. That's not the case in World GTT Championship endurance races, because it's only an hour and 45 minutes, and we have a limited fuel set.
Yes, so it's worth pointing out that fuel limit, you are limited to 75% of your fuel tank. So that works out around about 45 minutes for one of these cars. And around tracks at like Daytona, where you have a lot more full speed, full throttle sections, you're down to about 50-55 minutes. But somewhere like this, I think you're touching the hour mark. If you get into that hour mark, you've done good on a full 100% fuel tank. Well, here you're talking about 40-45 minutes, and I think that's part of the reason why you've seen Vasquez just be happy to sit behind now, because he was forging a path for everybody else out there.
Yeah, and immediately he's matched, within a tenth, he's matched the best lap of the race from Lucas Prada. So yeah, he's got the pace if he needs it. It's just, right now it's all about that saving that fuel, but also if you can save a use of a tyre, or just keeping them at the ones, maybe if you can't change all 4, make sure that the ones that you're not going to change are in better condition. Coming back to the fuel, I mean, Watkins Glen, I think it actually is relatively thirsty, because you're out of turn 1, you're uphill all the way, full throttle in top gear for ages, all the way up to the outer loop, and then in the kind of mid part in the boot, you're accelerating and then big braking zone, then accelerating, big braking zone. So there is it is on a hot lap, it is heavy on fuel. However, because of those big braking zones, you've also got opportunities to make bigger savings as well.
Yeah,
I'm sitting right on the fence tonight, aren't I?
It's not like you, Peter, at all.
My bum's getting sore.
Get splinters off of that fence that you're sitting on. Ryan Martin, Jensen Adriansons and Shane Burke are all together here then. That's an amateur sandwich, because you've got 2 Pro-Ams in front and behind with the Am in the middle. Because of course, as we all know, you don't call it a bread sandwich, do you?
No, you do not. That would be a very uninteresting sandwich if that was the case.
You always name it after the filling, not the things that are surrounding that filling. So Adrianson's doing a good job of just sitting there, getting some fuel saving done in 21st, but down in towards turn number 1, they're keeping a nice gap actually between them, and in fact they've got. Now here's worth pointing out: Ross McFarlane is catching up to them. He's not that far behind. He's behind Richard Simner in the DW racing car. There you can see Simner in front, and here's Ross McFarlane in his Ferrari, his Pure Sims Esport Ferrari. Oh, just ever so creeping up alongside in towards the carousel. Nicely done. There's a nasty bump there where you transition over the rise, and if you get that wrong and you brake on that bump, you can actually just send yourself firing off into the walls. It's a real challenge is running this classic boot layout.
I much prefer the classic boot, because it does give that opportunity for overtaking. Actually, if you run the chicane there, Watkins Glen is a nightmare to make overtaking manoeuvres, whereas there, it's a great opportunity to get a draft on somebody. As we're 38 minutes into this race, so we'll be getting close to the fuel window now. But everyone just keeping their cards close to their chest in this leading group at the moment. Now, good point for the Brabham Esports team, as the Platinum Racing team, Daniel Sedgley, make their first pit stop with their BMW. But yeah, the Brabham Esports team, they're in a great position because they have allies there as well. As you can see, Prada, he's on his own, no teammate anywhere near. Same for Vasquez, same for Thompson. Same for Undradus as well.
Yeah.
So the Brabham cars, they can really work together in this type of race, can run a very similar strategy and really make sure that they're giving each other a hand along. And then with a few laps to go, gloves off and see who's the best.
I will say Prada, okay, he's at the front on his own, but he has got his teammate of Alex Davidson, of course, who fought for the championship last season in 7th place.
There.
He's loitering with intent, isn't he? Is Alex, and certainly wanting to try and make himself known in this one. I think he's happy just sitting there getting some fuel saving. It's going to be a fascinating race when we get down to that final pit stop and see how things pan out. But I think after this first pit stop we will see a few gaps form, because you've got a choice here. In this first pit stop you can either take a full fuel load, take some tyres as well, because you've got the time to take that 75% fuel load and then get back out there, or do you take that shorter pit stop first, try and get yourself some clean air as Prada and Davidson for Pure Sims Esports onto pit road. We'll start to see what the strategies are at play.
They're wanting to tandem. They're definitely wanting to tandem. I think Davidson and Prada are and they're not too far apart with one another. That if they have a very similar pit stops, obviously the same amount of fuel, same tyre strategy. That's bold.
They've not popped up on the jacks there, so they're not taking tyres here.
That's really bold. With what at track temperature we've gone from 31 degrees Celsius to 38 degrees Celsius last time we looked at it. It's probably risen again since. So Prada gets going. He was first into the lane. There goes Davidson. This is a risk, Paul. I think this is a real risk. I think unless they're going for as short a stint as they possibly can here, splitting the race in half and then going bigger on the tyres and going for a full fuel stint to finish and then put the tyres on. So that's about halfway, just beyond halfway. So they've got the fresher tyres to the end.
21 seconds was their pit stop for both of them. 21.1 and 21.4 between the two of them. Worth pointing out, by the way, Ross McFarlane has the fastest lap of the race. So after getting that free repair, after getting caught up in that instant at the carousel on lap number 1, he's really been hammering the lap times in. But we're now getting those first pit stops happening. So what about the rest of this front pack? Because they have been split up a little bit at the front. Through the final corner, any more takers for the pit lane? The answer is no, not from that front group. There is a Brabham Esports car heading onto pit road. That's Christoph Karekas into pit road. So another pit stop with one of the compatriots in the other Brabham car coming onto pit road. That will be Harold Stadler, Andy Archer, Pete Harrod, Tim Perry. They're all starting to come on now, Peter.
Yeah, and pretty much every car I've seen coming onto pit road is going up on the jacks and taking some form of tyres. Even if you're putting one on, if you can do it, it is strange as well. As you can see, the German sim racing car there up. Big squeeze there on Vasquez, just gets through. So Undradus goes into the lead of the motor race, then past Vasquez's Audi. And that gives you an impression of just how much everyone's lifting and coasting into the corners, because Undradus was able to pass them there like they were amateurs, which they are absolutely not. It just shows you the difference in driving style from a flat-out qualifying lap to extreme fuel saving. Look at all these cars going up on the jacks as well. Pure Sims, they're either going to be geniuses or the opposite of genius. You know what that means, It's a risk, Paul, but for sure, though, you know, you think who they've got in their team room, they know what they're doing. So let's see.
Oh yeah. I mean, you look at Christoph's pit stop was 32 seconds, so that is a full set of well, is it Pirellis on these? I think it is, isn't it? Yeah.
They are Juha Kankkunen approved Black Round Pirellis, yes.
As we carry on in the front there, 8 cars at the front, mate. That's 6 because Locatello and James Buemi as well onto pit road with Kevin Bellens as well. So a number of more cars coming onto the pit lane. Question for me is Ross McFarlane. He did take a little bit of a top up of fuel when he got his free repair currently in 10th place. I mean, he'll be better for 3 or 4 laps, and then he'll be onto pit road, I would imagine, for his pit stop. So he's out of cycle. But we've only got 6 cars left who was a pit stop.
Yeah, and you've got to think they're getting towards the end of that fuel cell now, 75%. I would say maximum 45 minutes for any of these cars in this front group. And I tell you what, for them all, they all better be ready to come in there as well, because it is so tight coming into that pit lane here at Watkins Glen.
Oh, traffic! Traffic's involved! Thompson's around! So too is Armstrong! Oh, an absolute nightmare! Traffic was involved in all of that. Thompson's decided to take the tour back to pit road. He's not carrying on. Oh, we'll have to have a look at what happened there.
Only Unverdrus and Vasquez got through.
So there's the team Mad Cat, and it just gets collected, and Thompson was on his own.
Yeah, you're right, Paul. Did Thompson spin by himself there? Oh, look.
Oh no, it might have just taken a slight glance.
Yeah, and that's all you need.
Well, your leaders are onto pit road. You can see that in that bottom corner.
Oh yeah, there was a touch.
Mad car just slightly coming off of the inside of the corner, but it's ever
where else is he supposed to go? Where's he supposed to go? Give him the room. There's loads of room. There's half of New York State on the left there, and the Team Mad car's hooked into the inside lane and can't do anything else. And interesting one is Vasquez tyres.
Yes, the tyres for those.
Unverdrus tyres.
Yeah, so here are the Pure Sims cars, by the way, Prada and Davidson. This is the 2 that we're keeping an eye on in terms of this pit strategy. And Durruti, by the way, in his Porsche, frugal Porsche, once again, up at the front of the field, yet to take a pit stop. Prada and Davidson past pit lane exit, and only just now are they actually getting a shift on of Unverdrus and Vasquez.
And Durruti lost about 5 seconds in that melee. He was held up a bit, but 5 seconds, not too bad. Not too bad. And yeah, having that frugality from that Weissach developed flat 6 Porsche engine. This is Alex Gall all over again last season.
I'll tell you what, you want to get down to your local Porsche dealer. If a Porsche is this frugal. Yes. Especially with the cost of fuel nowadays.
Oh, yeah. That's where we've solved the cost of living crisis. You buy yourself a Porsche 911, particularly one with a 4-litre flat 6, so it better be a GT3.
He's coming.
In comes Durruti.
Yeah. So only able to go 1 lap longer and get his pit stop underway, so we'll see what he does in terms of any tyres. But yeah, this first round of pit stops is almost in the bag, and Durruti waiting patiently, finding his pit stall. Don't overshoot it, very easy to done, because it's slight downhill his pit stop, and look, he's not going up on the jacks, he's taking fuel only.
Okay, this is interesting. So the difference between the 2 Pure Sims cars, the Mercedes of Prada here and the Ferrari of Davidson, they stopped for 21 seconds each, whereas Vasquez and Unverdrus pitted for 32 seconds. Now, they did take tyres, but they've obviously taken more fuel on board as well. So we've got 2 differing strategies here. The Pure Sims cars are going for this as their short stint, and they'll go for a full stint to the end. The reverse is the case for Unverdrus and for Glasgow.
Or are they just balancing it out and just thinking they can finish on one set of tyres? And just going sort of evening out the fuel stock?
Well, if you're putting the full 75% fuel cell, basically filling from empty to the fuel that you're allowed, it does give you time to put on some tyres. But do you go 2 and 2? This is the thing. Everyone who thought there isn't strategy involved in this with tyres is wrong, because there is loads of permutations here.
There certainly are. We'll keep you back up to details with what's happened here then. So it's Lucas Prada who currently leads this race from his Pure Sims Esports teammate of Alex Davidson in second place. Leandro Andaruti, third place, the privateer, doing a sterling job in his Porsche. He was 22 seconds in pit road, so he's just taken fuel only with his stop. Then the first of the cars who took tyres, Fabio Unverdrus, is in fourth place ahead of Aaron Vasquez, the pole sitter, down to fifth place in his Lamborghini. And then it's Locatello in sixth ahead of your top Pro-Am of James Boemi, down in seventh place, or should I say up in seventh place. He's gained 8 places in this race so far. Then Christoph Karekas with Kevin Bellens, the next Pro-Am, in ninth, ahead of Daniel Sedgley, another Pro-Am, rounding out the top 10. In terms of your AMs, Jack Osborne, 14th place, so he's actually gained a place through all the shenanigans that happened there down at the tour. Andy Archer is in a 18th place at the moment for the AM, and Jonathan Walker 20th place in AM as well. So that's the top 3 of those categories as well. We are past the first pit stop. We've got 55 minutes and 32 seconds remaining of this race here in the opening round of the World GT Championship Season 13. It's unlucky for some, but so far at the front, Lucas Prada and Alex Davidson, it's all going well so far for them.
It is, so far so good. Interestingly, Ross McFarlane, our defending champion, of course, involved in that crash earlier on, his pit stop, his first proper pit stop, of course, had to come in to get his fast repair at the very beginning of the race, but his first proper pit stop absolutely mirrors what his Pure Sims teammates have done. So they've obviously done their preparation together and said, this is what we think the optimum strategy is. And as we've learned so many times in the past in these endurance races, Paul, would you bet against a McFarlane/Pure Sims derived strategy? Certainly not a good idea in the past.
Yeah, you bet against Ross McFarlane at your peril, don't you?
At your peril, yeah.
He really does pull out the performances for Pure Sims Esports, and you don't end up being a quadruple champion consecutive as well by accident. You know how to work these races, know how to work the strategy at play as well. So intriguing race ahead of us. Thank you very much for joining us on the coverage here. Good to see support continuing from 3M, from that team out there, giving us some tremendous goods. And of course we've got Simutech as well as a new sponsor to the championship, so pleasure to have them on board for the series. And these drivers, well, they're going to be racing over 12 rounds of the championship, and we'll see who decides is the champion come the end of the third race at Hockenheim at the end of the season. But Paul Smith, Peter Mackay here in the commentary box, Hugo Luis behind the scenes on production for you here today on RaceSpotTV. And well, been an intriguing race. We had a big incident, if you missed it at the start, big incident at the S's and also down at the Carousel, which has taken out some big names in this race so far. Tristan Iglesias is one of the biggest names that was involved in the incident down at the Carousel. Jack Sedgwick was the one who had contact through the S's, which started that concertina effect and that chain reaction that just went down through the field. And there has been some big winners out of this. Jordan Johnson Not really talked about Jordan much so far in today's race. Worth pointing out, the car number 12, currently up 34. That's right, 3-4 positions. Unbelievable stuff from Jordan in the Pure Sim SimLab outfit in the Audi. Doing a sensational job. Maybe not making a sensational job of that corner exit though.
No, or something went wrong in qualifying seemingly then for Jordan. But yeah, amazing drive to get up there and to miss all the melee as well. As Pure Sims, they're definitely tandeming at the front as well, using one another to try and maximise lap time as well in the draft, bump drafting one another. Interestingly, Prada has switched with Davidson, so Davidson had done a few laps behind Prada, and then now they've switched positions as well. Now, is that because Davidson feels he can pull away, or is it that they are truly working together as best as they can to be as quick as they can, but also still efficient as possible?
You know, you said that Andretti lost about 5 seconds in that incident. Have you seen how far back he is from the front two? He'll be ruining that, won't he, that incident that happened down at the turn.
Yeah, and there's absolutely nothing he could do about it, really. He was just caught in the melee all happened ahead of him. I think, to be honest, he'll be quite glad he got away with it, because, I mean, it's been a thought for Josh Thompson. He had to take a toll. He couldn't even drag the car back to pit lane. So, you know, it could have gone a whole lot worse. And Anderutti's in a great position here to potentially score a podium on the first round of the season, which would be a great result for him. And Vasquez and Unverdrust there, so they are sort of 7 seconds back from Anderutti, but we're in the pit lane for 10 seconds longer. So the race is going to come back to Vasquez and Unverdrust as well. So although they're not up at the front right now, they've got time in their pocket at the next pit stop.
I can tell you that Josh Thompson is back out there, but he's down in 25th place right now. There is Ethan Critchley. And by the way, if you're in the market for a go-kart, then get in touch with Ethan's father, Jason, because they're actually selling a kart. So do get in touch with Jason about that if you are interested. But and Ethan, also, down the inside of his teammate.
Ethan's got his Century Sim Racing branded toilet roll in the background as well, just in case he needs to blow his nose at any point, either in the race or any other time. Yeah,
it's still there and represented, and why wouldn't you have it represented as well? Century Sim Racing, I mean, what a season they had last season. They did tremendously well. And they've really grown as an outfit. I think having people like Ethan come in, Pete Harraduk also came across from Pure Sims, jumping into that outfit at Century Sim Racing. I think it's really growing is that outfit. And James Whitehouse, the boss there, the South African, the proud Springbok, he's certainly accumulated quite the outfit there.
He has, yeah. They've built up a great operation, and they are, a great force here in the World GT Championship. And we saw last season Ethan Critchley put in some absolutely superb performances. Great to see the Brabham Esports outfit growing as well, with having a satellite team in there as well. And although I'd have to say I did enjoy getting to commentate and say Brabham BMW. That was a proper throwback. We need to get into some sort of... there isn't an Alfa Romeo GT3 car, is there? No. But yeah, Brabham Audi doesn't quite have the same ring to it. But go back to the BMWs, guys, so Paul and I can say that and live out our wildest 1980s dreams.
As Jack Osborne there, trying his best to go down the inside of the Altitude Esports car. But Alfa Romeos, now you see, give me an Alfa Romeo 155 Silverstone. I just love it. Even though it's quite a boxy car, it's not the most aerodynamic car, shall we say. I always remember it from the British Touring Car Championship of 1994 with Gabriele Tarquini behind the wheel of that car.
They're still finding bits of it at Knock Hill. Oh, is that Tarcoma? Yeah, right enough. Yeah. I have to say the old ITC Alfa Romeos, those engines that were like 50 Swiss watches glued together, and the noise they made. Oh, just glorious, glorious machines. An era of touring car racing that will very likely never be seen again.
Certainly,
movable weight in the car as you under braking, and the movable ballast as you went along. Ridiculous traction control systems. It really was unhinged development.
There's the Platinum car, by the way, being overtaken by Ross McFarlane, so Daniel Sedgley losing a place in his BMW. Again, not that many BMWs out there in the field in this event, so yeah, it's mainly the Audis, the Lamborghinis that seem to be the favourite cars, although there are quite a few Ferraris out there as well, must be pointed out, but a good spread of cars. And yeah, the Brabham Esports, it's worth pointing out that the sister car, they've really helped us out, by the way, Peter, with the different colours. You just have a look at like Harold Stadler's car, for instance. It's a very the sort of light blue with the yellow stripe down it. It really is a bit of a throwback, and I'll be honest, when you get teams who do separate the colours like that, it really does help us. There you see it, the car just behind there, blue and yellow. It really does help us out in the commentary box.
Yeah, I wonder if perhaps it's a very similar blue and yellow to the flag of Ukraine. It might not be, but it looks very similar colours. If so, that's a lovely gesture. Looks fantastic. Looks really good. Regardless, I have to say that I think it's cool as well that the pro cars they get to run the green and gold as well. I think it's fantastic. It's just a point, there's a lot of there's always going to be arguments, criticisms, etc. about the state of balance of performance. As we've discussed, Porsche have had a go at the front, BMW have had a go at the front, Audi, etc. We've got 4 manufacturers in the top 4, 5 manufacturers in the top 5, so can't be that bad.
Thank you, Calvin Dent, by the way. It is actually a throwback to the Brabham BT33, is that paint?
Oh, great knowledge.
Thank you very much, Calvin, for providing us that in the YouTube chat. So yeah, there you go. And it's great how they're embracing the outfit's history as well, as you say. I mean, the only thing they're missing now is a Repco engine, aren't they?
Oh yeah. Well, we need when are they going to do a Parmalat car?
Oh yes.
Yes. Yeah, they could do the Parmalat car with the sort of white and blue, and then the red and
more under Bernie's tenure.
Yes, still Brabham. Still Brabham. Yeah, and also the blue and red, the Martini colours as well. That was on for a while.
Yeah, that was the fan car. Remember that?
Yeah,
that had those colours.
Also Brabham.
And of course,
what a heritage.
We also had the god-awful light blue and pink car that Damon Hill made his Formula 1 debut in 1992 as well, which was very much in the latter days of Brabham being in Formula 1, it must be saying. So yeah, as we focus back again, we always get fallen into the trap of talking about paint. So let's look forward at the field here, because we have got Fabio Unvadrus in 4th place right now on the screen. We've got Aaron Vasquez 5th place for Altus Esports, and we've got Locatello as well right behind. Massimo doing a good job there in 6th place. All 3 of these cars did take tyres at their pit stops, so 32, 33 seconds pit stops for all of these, whereas the 3 at the front of Davidson, Prada and Anderuti all around 21, 22 seconds. So we're seeing how this pans out, but have you noticed, Peter, Vasquez quite happy to sit behind now compared to how he was at the start of the race.
And also look who's snuck his way up there as well. Locatello, he was kind of on the back of the train, but he was in the leading train. It just shows you if you stay in the leading train, you're in with a shot. And Locatello, he's now right there. I mean, this could depending on who's got the strategy right, this could be your battle for the race win here. It could be a battle for the last spot on the podium. We don't know yet. We're not going to know until really as the next 40 minutes or so unfolds. But Locatello's done a super job there in that German sim racing Lamborghini to get stuck in as well.
As we come through that penultimate corner, we are past the halfway point of the race. So we're getting close to the point where if you do make a pit stop, it would be your final pit stop of the race. So we're getting close to that threshold of where strategy can be played. So if you get stuck, say, behind traffic, or if you're stuck in a queue of cars where you're feeling that you can go considerably faster, if you can only go a little bit faster, you might as well stay in that queue of cars. But if you can go considerably faster but you're stuck in a queue of cars, it might be worth sort of trying to get yourself a bit of clean air out there and to play that strategy. So that is coming into play in about a minute and a half's time, where pit stops can be made and see them through to the end. But Vasquez, again, just happy to back off the throttle, stay behind and sit in that slipstream.
Do not be surprised if we see Alex Davidson and Lucas Prada coming into the pit lane any minute now, because for them to make their strategy work, they've got to come in, put on as many tyres as they can in the time that they have when the car's at the fuel pump. They did take a very short stop, as short as they could get away with, stop at the first stop. This second stop, they're going to be going longer as well. The cars on screen right now, Unverdrus, Watkins in the VRS Audi, and the Locatello-driven Lamborghini, they can go a lot longer. They can go probably another, certainly another 10 to 15 minutes anyway into the race. They did take tyres, we do not know how many, but they took some at their first stop. The question is, Paul, whether they'll actually put more on at their second stop. I would think they will, maybe even if it's just one or two. Will they have the time though? Will they have enough time when the fuel's going in to do that?
I wouldn't take if you're doing your short stop, I would just take fuel.
Just go for it, yeah.
Yeah, and just go to the end and just.
Depends on the track temperature, mind you. I mean, it was 38 degrees Celsius a while ago, and if it continues climbing.
Well, it's still 38 degrees, okay. So it's sort of levelled out, actually. I thought it would have got a bit hotter. And there goes Vasquez to the outside, and I think that's more a case of Unverdrus saying, do you know what? I'm backing off of this. You go ahead. You forge the path. I'll sneak in between yourself and my teammate. Because, of course, Unverdrus and Locatello, teammates together in that German sim racing outfit, so they could really work together there. So again, how things can change, and getting that teammate there to work with you can really help you out.
What a fight back this has been from our defending champion, our 4-time in a row champion, Ross McFarlane, car number 1 in the Pure Sims Ferrari, having been down and out on the first lap, involved in that big wreck, had to come in, get a fast repair. He's now up into 9th position and has set the fastest lap of the race, a 1:41.6. That's seriously quick there from McFarlane. He just doesn't give up, does he, Paul? He's just relentless.
The problem for him, though, is that he's got to take his long pit stop yet. Because
yeah,
he was only 18 seconds.
But he's only 5 seconds behind Locatello, who's this train. So Locatello, Vasquez and Unverdrus, they're on effectively now the same strategy as him. So, yeah, it's quite remarkable. I mean, he's only 21 seconds off the lead at the moment from his Pure Sims colleagues.
Yeah, when you think that he was actually bouncing off the tyre wall at the carousel, had to come down onto pit road to get repairs done, then got back out and has been setting a really rapid pace. You're absolutely right there, Peter. I mean, his 5-lap average for Ross McFarlane is a 1:41.9. You compare that to the 5-lap average of his teammate Alex Davidson, who's in the same car in the Ferrari, 42.4 5-lap average. So, yeah, Ross McFarlane half a second quicker on average per lap over his teammate who's in the lead.
That's quite remarkable. I think it also shows the the differing approaches to the race. You know, the two leading Pure Sims cars are having to be really careful on their fuel usage to keeping the game with the others, whereas Ross McFarlane's kind of been backed into a corner, which has basically been qualifying laps from the get-go. After he's really in recovery mode, hasn't had the benefit of any fuel saving. He's just had to go for it. Now coming up upon a bit of traffic here, I wonder if he might take this opportunity to dive into pit lane as his teammate goes into the pits. Prada.
Yeah, Lucas Prada onto pit road. I was about to say that Jonathan Walker, who runs out of the same Pure Sim stable, had been on pit road, took 30 seconds on his pit stop. So I think this is now, as you mentioned, Peter, the long pit stop. And there you go. Tyres are being taken by Lucas Prada. How's this going to pan out now for us?
Well, interestingly, this is an hour and 8 minutes into the race. Usually these drivers are very used to nowadays of running a full fuel stint of about an hour, putting the tyres on and then going back on again. So in a way, it is familiar that way. Off the jacks quite quickly. That's definitely not 4 tyres. There's nowhere near quick enough to put the 4 tyres on, I don't think. So fuel still going in for Lucas Prada. Off he goes. Perfectly executed. Well, Pure Sims have their strategy. They've delivered it perfectly. It's now down to Lucas Prada and that Mercedes AMG. What can they do? Interestingly, Davidson's gone a lot longer, his teammate in the Ferrari.
Do you take left tyres only? Because the majority of the long sweeping corners around this track are right-handers.
I'd go rears. Rears or fronts. I don't know which would be better, but I would go across the axle rather than one side. There's too much of a balance between left and right, I would say, at this circuit.
Well, we'll have to see how it pans out.
Whoa. Yeah,
that's big stuff. Comes out in 17th place, then does Lucas Prada. There's Alex Davidson on screen right now. Does he dart off to the right-hand side in his Ferrari? Big brakes mid-corner because he's coming onto pit road. So a lap later, Alex Davidson onto pit road, and Leandro Andaruti stays out for another lap in that frugal Porsche. Don't forget, get yourself a Porsche 911 with a flat 6 engine if you want peak fuel economy, it seems. There's that Ferrari now on to the pit box. Tyres are being taken.
Okay, so let's see who's going to have the right strategy. Once these final pit stops are completed, we will then know. But Unverdrus, Locatello, Vasquez, they're still well in the middle of their stint. They're going to go longer on this stint with a short one to finish. A little bit of a wheel spin there from Davison, just trying to get a bit of extra heat into the rear tyres. That's very much IMSA style there. Tyres and fuel at the same time, and then a burnout to finish. Perfect.
So I think that tells me actually that he's taken rear tyres. If he wanted to just dump the clutch and take off the traction control, dump the clutch, get a bit of quick surface heat in those tyres, and look at that gap because of the pit stop. That Ferrari, quicker pit stop for them by just about 2 seconds over his teammate. So Lucas Prada losing out to Alex Davidson. Of course, in season 12, one of your championship contenders for the Pro Championship, until it all sort of fell apart really for him. So what can Andaruti do now in that Porsche through the right-hander? He's going to carry on another lap here. We do expect to see Andaruti coming onto pit road in the next lap or two. Meanwhile, Vasquez, Unverdrus and Locatello all locked together. The three of them. Look at how close they get to that safer barrier on the exit of the final corner. Down in towards turn number 1, the 90. Really tricky. You've got to carry the speed out of that corner. Liberal use of the track limits. I won't get into my rant now. We can save that for another time. But up the S's then, and then onto the back straight, and just use the slipstream of the cars in front if you're Massimo Locatello.
Yeah, very important. Locatello, he's been very happy to be rear gunner throughout the process. He's really been quite stealthy as you can be in a Lamborghini Huracan. There's nothing subtle about the cars from Bologna. when you see one coming on the road, there is no doubt that it is a Lamborghini. If you buy a Lamborghini, you want to make a statement. You want to say, look at me. Listen to me roar. And yeah, but Locatello is he's just stalking two of the fastest drivers we've seen in this race. They led up front in the early stint as well. So yeah, he's doing exactly what he needs to do right now, is Locatello. He could well be in for a spot on the podium at the end of the day.
Thank you very much, Michael Evdoka. 20 seconds for 4 tyres.
Oh.
So you can take a full set of tyres on a relatively short stop.
So that means that. So if that's that being said, then Davidson and Prada were both in the pit lane on their first stop for 22 seconds. Why not put 4 tyres on there? They took none at all. So if that's the case, why wouldn't you put the tyres on? That doesn't make any sense to me.
I'm not the. There's a reason why for Team Mad I was never in charge of strategy.
Is it because you've got to wait for a lap or two to get them up to temperature? Is that what it is?
I mean, that could come into play a little bit. Yeah.
Well, of course, who does Michael Evdoka drive for? Pure Sim. So he's going to know exactly what's going on. Actually, why is he not driving? Let's ask the real questions here. We'll ask the questions, Michael. Why is he not driving? We want to see him out on track.
Just when you think you have all the answers, I went and changed the questions. Thank you, Roddy Piper, for that one. As we carry on, Shane Burke is on to pit road now for his second pit stop. So tyres or fuel only stop. Well, I think it's a fuel only stop for Shane on the timing screen for us. But yeah, delighted to have you all along here with about 30 minutes and 45 seconds remaining here in the opening round of the World GT Championship Season 13. Already 13 seasons of it. Anderuti onto pit road. He is making his final pit stop. He's finally made it. 30 minutes remaining. I think you're going to be looking at about 20 seconds for this pit stop.
Yeah, let's have a look and see. Anderuti, yeah, he was 22 seconds last time. Tyres going on because he did not take tyres the first stop. So up he goes onto the jacks, filling up with fuel. And let's see where he comes out as well. And see what his total pit stop time is in comparison to Davidson and Prada, and where that spits him out. Those 5 seconds where he got held up in that incident, no fault of his own of course, could prove critical here as well. That very fine margin might come out to be important. Here comes Anderuti then as well. Is that Davidson and the Ferrari coming through turn 1? This is going to be tight. It's Anderuti's beating him. Anderuti comes out in ahead.
And comfortably as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, very comfortable. About 3 seconds between the two of them then. So Anderuti then, well, it's Porsche once again proving itself to be very frugal. And in these endurance races, it showed it last season, the opening round of the season 12. If you were here for us on RaceSpotTV, you can look back on the video on demand if you wish to do so, because it was actually a good race, was that one.
Thriller.
At Circuit Catalunya. We saw Alex Gal for Satellite, the Maradness Satellite E-Stars team, being able to pull out a masterstroke of a strategy in that Porsche, going 2 laps longer on each of the pit cycles and coming out from 6th place to 2nd place at the final pit stop. And could well be seeing the same again here for Porsche, but there's still plenty of time remaining in this race. 28 minutes and 30 seconds remain for us here, so anything can happen in the next half hour, as they used to say on Stingray. Well, that's certainly the case here in the World GT Championship.
You bet it is. And also Anderuti's got to get those tyres up to temperature now, whereas Davidson's Pirellis are already well into their operating window, so Davidson's really got to push over these next couple of laps. He's just about 3 seconds behind Antarutti at this stage as well, and that 3 seconds was all lost in the pit lane, more or less to the 10th of a second. The gap between Antarutti and Davidson was all the time spent in the pit box, and that's all fuel usage.
James Armstrong for Brabham Esports is on pit road right now. He, of course, got caught up in that incident in the tour with Josh Thompson and a couple others. Antarutti, don't forget, was held up by that incident just before the first pit stop, so he's headed onto pit road for his second pit stop as James, and away he will go. But this is the front three now as it stands. They've not taken their second pit stop, and for these three now, you've got to question how long can they go on this fuel? How long can they make this last? Because I tell you what, Locatello and Unvadros, they've been doing everything. They've been lifting off, they've been dropping the clutch, everything they can, or pushing the clutch, should I say, not dropping it, doing everything they can to save as much fuel as possible in those Lamborghinis, Peter.
Yeah, we're going to see how frugal, maybe should you buy a Lamborghini for the cost of living crisis rather than a flat six Porsche. This is consumer advice we're giving you here.
Yeah, it's crucial consumer advice.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Top Gear had it right all along. Yeah, so let's see. It's an intriguing, really intriguing battle. I love these endurance races here in the World GT Championship, and then you flip the coin, and before you know it, we're in 3 20-minute sprint races, and it's pandemonium as well. It's fantastic here in this championship. The most complete driver does come out on top at the end of the season.
Daniel Sedgley has been on pit road for Platinum Racing Team, so that's his final pit stop here in this race, done and dusted for the Pro-Am. Worth pointing out, Sarah Raab up 28 places at the moment. I know we're in the pit cycle, mate. That's 29 places now into 19th place for the AM driver, but once everything pans out, it'll be worth seeing how Sarah gets on, because she only did half the season last season, didn't she? She couldn't commit to the second half of the season, but it's great to see her back in the series with the anime car with the Penguin RC simulation outfit.
And she definitely won the award for the most unlucky driver in the races she completed last season, because it just seemed like there was an accident magnet on her car. That was so many accidents that happened right in front of her or took her out or whatever. It was none of her doing, but great to see that luck changing here and showing how good the pace is. Remember, she's in the AM class, so she is on the podium in class as things stand, and she should be in for her pit stop pretty soon, which matches up with the two AM cars ahead of her, Osborne and Archer. So that is very much a true third place as the pit cycle washes out.
Yeah, going well so far. Aoife Critchley onto pit road, Andy Archer and Pete Harrod onto pit road as well. So pit stops are plenty, and now coming thick and fast here in the latter part of this race. The front three, I would imagine, will be coming in with about 20 minutes, maybe 18 minutes at a push remaining in this race. So that is when we will get to find out who has played the strategy cards well. Who out there is very much the Dr. Ulrich or the Mr. Paul Smith of the strategy world, and I can tell you which one I would rather have doing the strategy.
Are you Penske or are you Paul? Oh dear. Are you Gaddafi or are you Guff? Let's see. Let's see. I don't think any of them are going to be Guff here, to be honest. Broken Paul Smith is only round one. It took me 6 rounds to do that last time, folks. With 23 minutes to go, Vasquez has had to be the real diesel locomotive here. He's done the heavy lifting. Paul, your turn.
He certainly has. Kevin Bellens onto pit road now for another pit stop in that Lamborghini Huracan. So next pit stop to be taken, and Kevin doing a good job debut round in the championship and doing a sterling effort. Jack Osborne onto pit road as well for Century Sim Racing. The AM driver with his final pit stop coming up. So, as I said, pit stops are coming thick and fast right now. I think looking at my timing sheet, we've got, what, 1, 2, and there. So 8 cars remaining to give us a pit stop here. How's Ross McFarlane getting on? He's in 14th right now. I think he's about to move up a place as well with Jack Osborne on pit road. He does. So 13th place at the moment for Ross. That's a heck of an effort after that incident in lap 1.
And he's fueled to the end as well. He's at the moment... he keeps moving up the timing screen. Where's he gone? Ross McFarlane, 13th. Yes, he's... yes, so he is in his stint. He is 8 laps into his stint. So 10... Yes, should just be fine. Yeah, just about. He's, in fact, exactly. He's on exactly the same strategy as his teammates, Davidson and Prada.
I don't know if it's Corey Cosgrove that's had an incident, but I'm seeing a yellow flag on my track map down at the toe. So something's happened down at the toe here, and there's a yellow flag out there that Ross is actually coming up to right now. So obviously issues for people out there. Getting back up and running though is that car, so we're staying nice and clear. Now Christoph Karekas onto pit road and getting their final pit stop for the Brabham Esports team. Jensen Adriansons as well onto pit road for their final pit stop, and a couple more heading down. Ryan Martin and here's a contact, a bang into the back.
Which car number is
Penguin,
that?
that's one of the Penguin RC cars, isn't it?
Oh, Cody, that's Cody Cosgrove. So that's what happened. Cody just the car just snapped away. So easy to do there at that penultimate corner here at Watkins Glen, and the car falling behind. It was one of the Brabham cars, the BT33 Influence livery Brabham cars, and yeah, the following car couldn't do anything.
Oh, whoa. Wow! That's just carrying too much speed into that penultimate corner, is that one. Lost it on corner entry with the back end swinging round like a pendulum. Yeah.
Sarah Rabin pit lane in the car 31 Penguin car. I tell you, my heart stopped. I thought it was after me saying, "Oh, she's the luck's coming in," and then all of a sudden, no, thankfully. Oh, it's one of the Brabham cars. Twitch.
Oh! Hold it! Oh, DK. That's well done. I mean, those rear tyres will be screaming at the driver now for the heat, but
that's save of the season already.
Yeah, get that in the highlight reel. Pit lane, Locatello and Buemi, I can tell you, by the way. Here's the onboard shot of this. I mean, you come round the penultimate corner, all of a sudden you see a car, and you, which way? Great car control. Brilliant.
Harry Vatanen, eat your heart out.
Do you know what,
now, which Brabham car was that?
I didn't catch the number, unfortunately. I will say I have actually met Hannah Mikkola. Very nice guy. James Armstrong, it just shows you that those... it definitely was. So if it was James... that is speechless. Well, he is our resident Jody Scheckter, so yeah, Jody liked to get it hung out and slide it about a bit. So. Oh, Hugo's caught your puns, is what he's done. Yeah,
he's caught the disease. Yeah, he does have strong arms, Hugo. Yes, he does. Yeah. Our producer, Hugo Luis, ladies and gentlemen, here all week.
As we... This is what I have to work with. Anyway, Aaron Vasquez and Fabio Unvadros at the front of the field right now. They have not pitted, as you can see on screen. Anderuti, though, in third place has. Locatello just pitted as well on this lap, so down to sixth place behind Lucas Prada. So Prada has got ahead of one of those cars, one of those German sim racing cars that was in that group of Vasquez and Unvadros. I tell you what, Leandro Anderuti has got a good shout of a potential race win here.
He could, yeah. Anderuti's his total pit stop time is 46 seconds. So is Locatello's though. Locatello, I mean, he is 6 seconds back from Anderuti, so you know, has the Locatello's been doing the fuel saving really well, but has he been able to run the lap time? That's the thing. It's Anderuti's been able to match that frugality with some pace. What are Vasquez and Undradus doing though? That is the question. I mean, time in the lane for trying to get a look on. I don't know. I think you're right, Paul. I think Anderuti's looking really strong for this.
I think just going by the fact that Locatello was in that 3-car train of Vasquez and Undradus, I just think that Anderuti has got that over those two drivers, and it could be a Porsche. Bearing in mind that Porsche, it started in the top 10, but it wasn't fancied. It was all Audis and Lamborghinis at the front. Is now, well, in a potential of a race win. We've lost Josh Thompson. Josh Thompson's had an incident out there, and he's taken a tour back to the pits, and I think we're about to see a retirement for him. It's really not been Josh's day. That seems to be a theme, doesn't it? That whenever he gets into this championship, it just seems to not have much luck, as your race leaders do pit.
Okay, let's see what's going to happen then with Vasquez and Undradus. I just don't know if they've got the margin here. Anderuti, the thing was, he was in the back end of the top 10, but he was in that leading group at the start, and I think he's really made the very most of that Porsche flat 6 motor, and really shows that it's a frugal car. The pace comes and goes, but it's always got that frugality.
And
as
tyres.
Vasquez, well, if you've got the time when you're putting the fuel in, put one on if you have to. So Vasquez, they both come out at the same time. Vasquez has got some form of new rubber on there, whereas Undradus does not. But Anderuti, he's gone. He's well in the lead of this race. 5 seconds ahead, and remember, he got held up 5 seconds in that incident. He could be cruising away with this otherwise.
Absolutely sensational stuff from Leandro Anderuti, ahead of Alex Davidson. Aaron Vasquez, it's worth pointing out, was 14 seconds, along with Fabio Undradus. Did take tyres, whereas Undradus didn't. Now, how many tyres? I mean, you can take a full set in 20 seconds, so in theory, you could take 3, but you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't just keep one old tyre on the car. You'd take 2 potentially, take some rears perhaps, or fronts, depending on how your balance is feeling. So here is Vasquez now behind Alex Davidson in his Ferrari, but with 15 minutes remaining. Here is how things stand at the moment. It's Leandro Anderuti at the front of your field. The privateer certainly loving life at the front in that Porsche, ahead of Alex Davidson by 5 seconds. And Aaron Vasquez, 3rd place in this field, doing a good job as well. And he's got that 3rd place, but he started on pole position. And here's a replay. Don't say this is James Armstrong again, as he's going down the back straight. Oh no, we're trying to find it for you, folks. Oh, out of the carousel, and then we'll meet the wall. Yeah, that's the end of James Armstrong's race. A real. It's not one to write home about, is that, for James. I'll just finish as well, because Pro-Am, it is James Buemi who's leading that one in 7th place overall. Really good position for the Pro-Am driver. Kevin Bellens is in 2nd place in Pro-Am, 9th place overall. And then Daniel Sedgley, another one that's a newcomer. Pro-Am is in 3rd place in class, as we're going 3 wide into the carousel. People are getting a bit excited here now. Business is starting to pick up, Peter.
Well, you bet it is, because I think they all know that Anderuti's gone. He's 5 seconds up the road with just 13.5 minutes to go. They know that this is a battle for 2nd position now, and if anything happened to Anderuti, they want to be at the front of that queue. So it's gloves off now. Vasquez, he's very quickly made his move to the front of this pack. He's in 2nd. Davidson's Ferrari for Pure Sim there in 3rd. Undradus in the Lambo. and Prada in the Mercedes, also Locatello as well, who said balance of performance doesn't work. There's different manufacturers everywhere. The balance is perfect in my opinion. Cars make their way up in different ways. Anderuti, he's just played it perfectly, hasn't he? Because he's actually, his pit stop time, he spent exactly the same time in the pit box as Vasquez, as Unverdrus and Locatello. The difference is they've had to do a lot more fuel saving to get to that fuel number. So Anderuti has been able to push more while still maintaining that fuel usage.
Look at those fresh tyres though. Vasquez is on a mission right now. He is pulling away from those. So Alex Davidson really struggling with his car, even though he did take tyres at his last pit stop. Don't forget, Alex did take fresh tyres, so whatever Vasquez has got in his tyres and in his wheelhouse is certainly making the most of that. We'll be keeping an eye on the lap times for him, because that is closing up slightly, is that lead. But it's worth pointing out as well as, more moves. Alex Davidson under pressure from Fabio Unverdrus into the right-hander, and Unverdrus then, for German Sim Racing, up into third place overall. Just finally, very quickly, give you up to date with your AM drivers, because the leading AM is actually Andy Archer in 15th place. Has got ahead of Jack Osborne in all of this. So Jack Osborne down to 16th place overall, second place in class. The next AM driver is Jonathan Walker, and Walker is about 4 seconds ahead of Sarah Raab, who's in 4th place for AM. So that's how things stand in your AM category as well, with 11.5 minutes remaining. But Vasquez right now, I'm intrigued to see, because that time is coming down.
A quick point on the AMs as well. There is only 0.3 of a second between Archer and Osborne, so there's a proper grandstand finish going on there in AM. But you're absolutely right, Paul. Vasquez is absolutely flying in that Audi. If you've got the time with the fuel going in, if you can put even 2 tyres on, look at the difference it's making. It was a 141.6 last time by, which was 0.8 quicker than Anderuti. Last time by, half a second quicker.
Yeah.
So he's on the move.
Is it enough though? Is there enough time remaining?
Is Anderuti having to fuel save? Is he underfueled for track position? Is he soft pedalling?
Anderuti does have a clear track though in front of him for a little while. He's got clear track, so doesn't have to worry about any traffic. Whereas Vasquez has to get past, I think, one more car, and then he's got that clear track looking forward. This is going to be an intriguing end to this race. I mean, Archer, you pointed out about Archer and Osborne, they are teammates. I don't think that they'll be... If they do switch places, then it'll be a team decision, will that one, but I really don't see that happening. But yeah, certainly here we are looking at this one. Big movers in the field. Just before we get into this final few bits, Jordan Johnson and Richard Simner both gained 35 positions. Absolutely incredible from both of them.
Yeah, there's been quite a few drives through the field. I mean, Ethan Critchley, another one, has made great progress to get up into 13th overall, but that is still 5th in the Pro-Am class. So yeah, there's been some great drives throughout the field. Some drivers who have been on the fight back. I mean, look at Ross McFarlane up into the overall top 10 right now. Got about 11 seconds ahead to number 43, Kevin Bellin, so he might well be kind of locked in that 10th position right now. But I think, all things considered, he'll take that. I think if that's a bad round, then that's fine. The question is though, can Anderuti has responded. Vasquez 42.4 last time by, 42.3 for Anderuti. So Anderuti has steadied the ship, and I think you called it just right, Paul. Is that clean air made a big difference?
Yeah, I think just a little bit of traffic on that last lap for Vasquez has just cost him that 10th of a second. But yeah, those fresher tyres just giving him that little bit, because you get that good sort of golden period of about 3 or 4 laps where those tyres, when you put fresh tyres on, you're like, oh, this is beautiful. But then that performance just drops off, and I wonder if we've got to that point now where that performance is just dropping off now. He's almost 5 laps into the stint here for Vasquez. So has he seen the best of those tyres?
No, I think they're still in. I think they're still in. I think it's all to do with the traffic, if there is any, and just that pace. Track temperature is very high as well, so I think that could be playing a factor also as well. But my goodness me, do I love these enduros here in the World GT Championship. We have sprints, we have features, they're brilliant, but the enduros are really where it gets interesting. The organisers have got the formula just right with those 2 mandatory pit stops, that limited fuel cell, and we've had so much to talk about. This race is just blown by in a flash.
Andy Archer, Jack Osborne and Pete Harrod are all teammates for Century Sim Racing, and they're all together 15th, 16th and 17th place for them, so I don't think there's going to be any changes happening there. We've got Christoph Karakas, James Buemi and Kevin Bellens all together out there 7th, 8th and 9th places. You've got also the race between Fabio Unvadrus for 3rd place, Alex Davidson, Lucas Prada and also Massimo Locatello. Those 4 are together for the final step of the podium. And in fact, I think Locatello's just dropped back a little bit because of lap traffic. Yeah, flash of the headlights. So dropping back a little bit. Still, fastest lap of the race, worth pointing out. Ross McFarlane with a 41.6 for him. He's been doing some incredible laps. Last time by the way, Aaron Vasquez is 6/10 of a second quicker, Peter, than our race leader. I think it's a tall order, though, at this point.
Yeah, I think we've got 4 laps to go. So it would need to be about 3/4 to a second per lap. So it is going to be tight, but it just takes one little error in traffic, one little 50-50 judgment, and there's Andrew just going around the final corner. Vasquez will be able to see it. I mean, you can't miss that bright pink Arnage competition Porsche. Oh, did he hit the wall?
Yes. Just glancing. He might have got away with it, but it's just a glancing blow. But that's
pushing.
Yeah, he is pushing.
42.4 for both of them last time by, so no change.
And he's got lap traffic in front as well as Vasquez. You can see that that car in front just giving him a little bit of a draft, yes, but also not. Here we go. Look at this on board. Thank you very much. You've got just a glance.
It's enough to make a difference sometimes, depending.
Well,
change for the lead in. Sorry, Paul. Change for the lead in Pro-Am. Kevin Bellens has gone up into 8th overall. He's got past James Buemi, who was in 7th overall. So I wonder if something's happened to Buemi in the number 128 car. Well, it's
Caracas who's got ahead of them. Round the outside goes Buemi, though. Oh, my goodness. they're swapping positions corner by corner here. Caracas has got ahead and stayed ahead of them. The pro driver for Brabham Esports, but Buemi and Bellens, they're duking it out for that Pro-Am win. So we've got a heck of a finish here, haven't we? We've got a race for the Pro-Am win, a race for the Am win, even though they are teammates. This is fantastic. Welcome back to the World GT.
Oh, well, it's great to be back. Monday nights are back here on RaceSpotTV. What a pleasure. So the number 43, Bellens in the Lamborghini. Buemi in the Altitude Audi as well. Who is going to come out on top here as well for this first Pro-Am win of the season and fighting in the overall top 10 54 car grid? Remarkable performance from these drivers as well. Regardless of the outcome, they can hold their head very, very high as well. And Christoph Grech is in the Brabham Audi. He's like, I don't want any part in this. I'm getting out of here. See you later.
The problem is he can't, can he?
No,
he
cannot.
A lovely draft.
Oh, yeah.
And they're loving that. But if you're Buemi, you're thinking, thank goodness you're ahead of me right now, because behind I've got my Pro-Am Challenger. And if this is going to be what it's like for the whole season, then my goodness, we are in for one heck of a season here in the World GT Championship on RaceSpotTV. Up the back straight we go again. 3.5 minutes remaining, so time is running out. Looking to the outside, the Lamborghini. you can make that move stick. If you're a bit brave, you can make it stick. Out of the carousel, down into the chute. Well, they're still side by side. But yes, he's done it.
Great move there. That's the move that Josh Thompson pulled off earlier. So pro class move to take the pro-am class lead as well. But you can be sure that Buemi's not going to let him have it easy as they come through the boot section up towards the toe, right in the draft there as well. And without a doubt, Karekis is playing a factor here as well, because the reason that Buemi was able to set that up, he got a great draft and he played it perfect.
The question is, though, is that the position you want to be in right now?
Very true.
Yeah, do you want to be
true.
that middle car? The last lap, you can guarantee there's going to be some moving about up that back straight.
Yeah, and it's two to go then here at Watkins Glen. What a thriller, what an opener to the World GT Championship season for season 13. We saw Watkins Glen 2 seasons ago as a real turning point in the championship. I think it was round 10 of 12, and it really made a difference in enduro race. Catalunya was a great opener as an enduro race, and this has really carried on that tradition. Fantastic. As the two Pure Sims cars, they've got to figure themselves out right now with Prada in the Mercedes, Davidson in the Ferrari, and they are battling away with Unverdrus there for the last spot at the podium. So Davidson's going to try and hook it around the outside.
Oh, he couldn't quite make
big
it.
block.
Couldn't quite make it, and that's going to be holding position. Bellens, by the way, has moved up to 7th. Oh, no, he hasn't, because he's lost the pace, but he's staying ahead in your Pro-Am lead. So you got to have eyes in the back of your head here, or in the case of our producer Hugo Luis, about 17 monitors, which fortunately he does have, so you can keep an eye on everything going on out there. The AM Championship battle between the two, that's just staying as they are because they are teammates. So they're just playing it safe, I think, to get themselves some good team points. They see them on screen right now, and it is 3 Century Sim Racing cars all together there, of Archer, Osborne, and then the Pro-Am of Pete Harrod at the back of that queue of Century Sim Racing cars. But it is that race at the front then for Pro-Am win, as the white flag will come out for your race leader. So one more lap for Anderuti to get around. 3.1 seconds. The bleeding has been stemmed there, Peter. But it's the race for 3rd place as well that really could heat up this back straight.
Yeah, the pin is gonna be pulled now as well. Last lap here at Watkins Glen, and Unverdrus has it for now. And look at that, straight to the inside line as well. But you can't cover it all off with the switchback going into the chute. So as we fire up towards the outer loop, as Davidson covers the inside line, Prada's going to try and go round. So look at that, as we saw Unverdrus was leading coming out of the S's, and now he's dropped back to 3rd in this little group as this battle for the last spot on the podium. Vasquez, he's gone. He's 2 seconds up the road from this bunch. And Unverdrus, you called it perfectly there, Paul. Do you want to lead out the S's? Looks like you don't. Big dive! Big dive, and fair play to Prada, gave him the room.
I think he had no choice. I think he had no choice in giving the room.
Yeah, give him the room or have an accident. Yeah.
But it was a hell of an aggressive chop of the nose from Alex Davidson, and sometimes championships can be won on moves such as that. But around the final few corners, and it's going to be one heck of a return to the championship. Didn't get a race win previously. Just got one more corner to go here, and Leandro Anderuti will see that checkered flag and take a race win. Barney waves the flag. It's a race win for Anderuti here in the opening round of the World GT Championship. Aaron Vasquez, a sterling effort to finish in 2nd place after pushing all the way at the end there. Alex Davidson and Lucas Prada getting 3rd and 4th place ahead of Fabio Unverdrus. Across the line, it's going to be Kevin Bellens who takes the Pro-Am race win here in this one today, just ahead of James Buemi. Now look back, because the Century Sim cars, Andy Archer is going to be leading them. Archer from Osborne your two AM leaders in this race around the final couple of corners for them, and they will be loving that. They'll be getting the photography from Mr. Hedge, the interim photographer for the series. Across the line they go. Tremendous display for them. 3 cars all together across the line. But Peter, wow, we need to take a breath. That was one heck of a race today.
That was fantastic. That was endurance racing at its best, and just huge props to Leandro Andaruti. I don't think anyone saw that coming. I'll put my hands up and say I did not see that coming. Yes, he was in that lead group. When he took his first stop, we thought, okay, he's getting closer. And then second stop, it's like, oh, he's pulled a blinder here. Being able to run the lap times and do that with less fuel used, that's a huge skill in endurance racing. It's a huge skill in lots of forms of motorsport. I mean, Scott Dixon, 6-time IndyCar champion, is one guy who can pull that off. And Andaruti, what a way to start the season, and he leads the championship out of Watkins Glen.
Sterling stuff, that is for sure, and we'll be able to give you your race results in just a few moments time, but hats off. I mean, there's some tremendous action there. That race for Pro-Am as well, tremendous stuff to watch as we give you then your provisional race results here in the World GT Championship opening round of season 13, and it's Leandro Andaruti, the privateer, who takes this win in his Porsche ahead of the Altus Esports driver of Aaron Vasquez by 3 seconds. Alex Davidson for Pure Sims Esports, he was a championship contender in Pro last season. He is back again, 3rd place for him ahead of Lucas Prada, his teammate. The 2 teammates of Fabio Unvadrus and Massimo Locatello take out 5th and 6th place for German Sim Racing, with Christoph Karekas in the Brabham Esports car 7th place. Your top Pro-Am, Kevin Bellens for Beehive Racing finishes in 8th place ahead of the Altitude Esports James Buemi in 9th. Ross McFarlane, your previous season's Pro champion, rounding out the top 10 after getting involved in an incident at the carousel on lap number 1. The 3rd place Pro-Am driver is Daniel Sedgley for Platinum Racing Team, finishing 11th place overall ahead of Tim Perry. Harold Stadler, new to the championship, in 13th ahead of Ethan Critchley. It was Century Sim Racing. My goodness, look at that. Ethan Critchley, Andy Archer and Jack Osborne all finishing 14th, 15th, 16th for Century Sim Esports, with Century Sim Racing's Pete Harrod 17th overall. Jordan Johnson 18th ahead of Richard Simner, with Matt Emery rounding out the top 20. Of course, Andy Archer and Jack Osborne, your top AM winners in this race. Shane Burke in 21st ahead of Ryan Martin. Jonathan Walker, 3rd place AM for 3M UK in his Ferrari, 23rd place overall. Ashley Finch ahead of Sarah Raab, who finishes 4th in AM. Hunter McDaniel and Sophia Ridpath for Platinum Racing Team. David Valls is the last of the drivers who finished on the lead lap, then the rest 1 lap down or more. Adam Tompkins and Ben Gregory. We didn't talk about Ben at all in that race. Very quiet day for him ahead of Paddy Faulkner, Jeroen Kaiser, Paul Crawford, Jensen Adriansons will be a little bit disappointed with that result, I think. Lars Van Rijn and Tom Brown, Lee Berridge, Magic Sakovic, Jake Cherrill and Matt Woodhouse in 40th place. 2 laps down or not finishing, we've got Brian Sohn ahead then of Adam Watson and Marvin Lesmallman, Adam Hedgecock, James Armstrong, Josh Thompson, Cody Crosgrove, Daniel Nolt, Aaron Rose and Jack Sedgwick. And then the final 4 cars who all had incidents as well on the final page of our results will be Dara Edrinson's, Ben Palmer, Tristan Iglesias and Justin Clarsons. Wow. My goodness, Peter, that was sensational and a brilliant result for Leandro Andaruti to win this race by 3 seconds in the end. It wasn't quite as big a result as we thought it could potentially be.
He won it by 3 seconds, but also with 5 seconds held up waiting for an incident to clear in front of him at the chute. This is one of the top endurance performances we've seen in the last handful of seasons here in the World GT Championship. Just a a victory that came out of nowhere. He clearly knew what he could do and what strategy was possible. You know, everyone was talking about the Audis coming into the race. That didn't play out. You know, we saw a mixture of manufacturers up there, which is brilliant, and that really bodes well for the rest of the season. I always find Watkins Glen's a pretty good mixture. You know, you've got some fast sections, you've got areas where you need good cornering ability, good braking, so it shows up every part of the car. And Durruti, when it comes to like the sprint races where there's no pit stops, that's where he might struggle, at least until the iRacing changes to season 2 of the year, which usually happens about the mid-season for World GT, and then you never know, it could all come back to the Porsche again. But in terms of the endurance races or any race that involves a pit stop like our 40-minute features, and Durruti's he's going to be pretty happy coming away from this race.
Kevin Bellens, it's worth pointing out as well. I mean, what a way to start your season here in the World GT Championship. A tremendous race between him and James Buemi. That was simply sensational racing and action between those two, switching places pretty much every lap towards the end of that race.
Yeah, and isn't it great to see, you know, new names in the championship hitting the front straight away? That's what we like to see. Enjoying the competition that we have here in the World GT Championship. And what a great position we're in. What a great time to be part of the World Sim Racing paddock. You know, we have World GT here on Monday nights here on RaceSpotTV, and then the World Touring Car Series on Thursdays. A huge grid of touring cars taking part. Again, over 50 cars as well. The future is very bright for virtual motorsport and with World Sim Racing.
Well, hopefully we can get to speak to our race winner, so hopefully if we get him in here, and we'll hand him over to Peter Mackay to give us an interview with Leandro Andaruti.
Leandro, welcome to the RaceSpotTV commentary booth. Congratulations on a super win. Tell us, did that win come as a surprise to you, or did the plan execute perfectly?
I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
That's good. Well, I was surprised because I made a risky strategy with not changing tires at the first pit stop. And yeah, for me it was a pretty good race because I was able to save the tires in the first stint, then attack in the second one, and yeah, it was pretty good.
And it seemed, certainly by our calculations, that the combination of you and the Porsche 911 GT3R seemed to be able to run the same lap times but with less fuel use. You know, your time in the pit stops was perfect compared to the Audis and the Lamborghinis, etc. Did you know, or did you feel like the Porsche had an advantage on fuel?
Well, no, maybe I was saving more in the start, but I'm not so sure. I cannot tell you. I didn't test other cars before the series. I just signed up with the Porsche and hoped it works, and I guess it worked for the first round.
It certainly did. It certainly did. I mean, looking ahead to the sprint events and the feature events, do you feel you'll have the pace to compete in those events just like you have tonight with this fantastic win in the endurance format?
I'm a bit worried because when you cannot run the tires, how you say, when you warm up tires with the Porsche, like then you can be really fast, but if you have to push from lap 1, it's a bit hard. I think the tire overheat and then you start to slide, but we will see, I guess.
Oh, that's really interesting to hear that. Well, Leandro, welcome back to the World GT Championship. We're delighted to have you back, and your bright pink Porsche is easy for us commentators to spot out there on circuit. Well done on a fantastic victory, and good luck for the next round.
Thank you.
Well, there we go. I mean, pretty much summed up his race there. Just thought, oh yeah, we did all right there. Looking out to next time then, the next round of the championship, and I don't know if Hugo can bring up our schedule here. There we go. It's the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache. I mean, same time next time on RaceSpotTV. Interlagos, it is going to be one heck of a race around this track, and of course it's the first time we'll get a reverse grid as well. Reverse
grids, the Senna S's on lap 1. Oof. if there wasn't enough drama for you tonight, you can be sure there'll be even more next week as well. That circuit is one of the most raceable circuits on the iRacing service. We could see a lot of moving and shaking throughout that event, and also I think getting through that round cleanly and just banking some points is going to be the order of the day, Paul, because it can go wrong so quickly in hand-to-hand combat at that circuit.
We have got the opportunity, just very quickly, Peter. Why don't you take it away with our winning Pro-Am driver, Kevin Belland?
Oh, fantastic. Well,
hello,
Kevin,
boys.
Kevin, welcome to the RaceSpotTV commentary booth. A win on debut in the Pro-Am class here in the World GT Championship. Just tell us how you're feeling about that.
Honestly, pretty happy. It was pretty hard. At one point, I was starting to lose the train to the pro class. It's like, okay, I'll try to save fuel wherever I can. And at one point, James took the lead in my class. I was like, okay, I need to try something here. And yeah, in the end, I tried something with the tire strat and worked out in the end. So yeah, pretty happy with that.
And just touching on those last few laps, it was, you had obviously one of the pro cars just ahead of you. What was your strategy for those last few laps? Because we were talking about it in the booth about maybe you didn't even want to lead into those last few laps because of the draft coming out the S's. What was your thinking and how did it play out?
Well, to be honest, I was fighting James, and Christoph was pretty much on his own. I was like, maybe try to pass him, but he was really making it hard. Not only for me, for James as well, because he was also trying to fight for position overall. So yeah.
Well, it was certainly thrilling to watch, Kevin. Congratulations on your debut win here in the World GT Championship. Very well deserved, and we wish you all the best of luck for next week.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, there we go. That's our Pro-Am winner. But very quickly then, Peter, that was a great opening round of the championship and what we got to look forward to then for the rest of it, because that was tremendous action. It's just going to come in bucketfuls, isn't it?
You bet it is, yeah. I think on one lap pace in qualifying, certainly for the next few weeks, the Audis have got. If you're in an Audi right now is the time to make hay while the sun shines, as they say, because there maybe seems to be a bit of an edge on one lap pace, but as was proven tonight, throughout the race, especially in an endurance race, it can play out quite differently. So I think that the next few races are going to be really intriguing as well to see what the real order is of the championship. And our defending champion only managed 10th tonight. To be honest, 10th was a great effort considering, but he's got a little bit of ground to make up in that Ferrari. Does the Ferrari have the pace? We'll find out over the next few weeks.
Yeah, it isn't just 1 week that the championship is decided. It is over 12 weeks. So thank you very much for joining us here on this broadcast. I've been Paul Smith with Peter Mackay here on commentary. Hugo Luis has been our producer of the broadcast here of the World GT Championship. It's the start of season 13. It's been unlucky for some, but not for Leandro Angelotti. Until next time, it's goodbye.